Hey folks, Justin Webb here from Zealous Manufacturing. On today's episode of American Made, we're going to go over programming a part with Fusion. And we're going to go over programming this brass item. You can save it as a user default. I prefer to go in with the pocket operation. It's just a little cleaner look. If we go to our ramp clearance, you can see it starting here. It's going to save a ton of time. So as a lot of you know, I'm a self-taught programmer, self-taught machinist, and I really chose Fusion. I'll be honest, it was kind of due to the economical cost. So I'm an engineer by day, mechanical engineer, so I've used pretty much every CAD software there is. But when it came to programming, I didn't know what made the most sense. When I looked at some of the options, I thought, I don't know. I'm familiar in that on the CAD side, but on the CAM side, I'm not super familiar. So I figured, let's give Fusion a try. It was the lowest cost of entry to market. And I said, worst case, if this doesn't work out, not out a ton of money. So on this item, I really wanted to dial in some new engraving tools that I'm trying. And I wanted to kind of go over some of the programming and how I do that. And this item is actually just kind of a novelty item. We're going to actually be giving these away to some of our good customers. And then I also wanted to kind of jump into that trinket market, kind of see how it does for Zealous Manufacturing. And if you guys are see me at any trade shows, or if you know I'm coming to your area, let me know. I'll probably have a couple of these on hand. Just a cool item. And I wanted to get a little bit more machine time in brass. So let's hop into how we programmed this part. So here's the item, guys. We're going to do two operations. Op 1, we're going to do this side. Then we're going to flip it and do the opposite side. So op 1, let's go into our stock. So just a fixed size box. One thing I always do is my face mill likes to take 20 thousandths per pass to get a nice finish. So I just set the item 20 thousandths in, as you can see here, and I set that as a default. So in this 3-button menu on the right, you can actually set some user defaults and system defaults. So I set that as a default anytime I don't start in the center. So we're going to go in, just very naturally 3D rough everything out, leaving 20 thousandths on all surfaces. And I'm actually going to go 20 thousandths below the part. So when I flip it over, I don't have that thin foil top hat or carrier, but that's just preference for me. We're going to go in and face the part. So one thing I do when I face, you'll notice this is moving perpendicular to our x-axis. So if you go into the software, go into passes, pass direction, you can change which direction that is. So if you set it to 0, it's in line with the x-axis. 45 would be 45 degrees in reference to the x-axis, etc. So my machine spindle's not perfectly trammed. If I run it 0 on this machine, I'll get a little lip from the machine. So I run it 90 because it turns out great. We're going to go in, we're going to profile the outside with a contour, and then we go in and run a pocket operation. So the reason I run a pocket operation is, if you can see here, there's a nice exit here. There's no weird adaptive moves or swirling moves, and let's show you what I mean by that. So I have this suppressed. We'll regenerate that quick. So in adaptive, if you notice here, we've got a lot of movement, and this is staying on the floor. So any chips that are on the bottom will get recut, and this part here is an aesthetic surface. So I prefer to go in with the pocket operation. It's just a little cleaner look. You'll also notice my 45-degree lead-in. So to avoid any sudden movements or any potential for like a digging in at that exact moment, in your lead-in tabs, I always set to 45 degrees. Contour. If you notice anything, especially like on this contour operation as well, I always go over my start point just to make sure that there's no line from start-stop. And I always try to start at a radius to hide that blend. So I hide it with starting at a radius, as well as a 45-degree in and out, as well as an over finishing pass. So if you look at here, I'll show you guys where that is.
So in your passes, there's a finishing overlap section here. I always go just 100 thousandths past. That's a default anytime I set that. So we're going to go in and bore this hole. That'll be our pickup point for op 2. I didn't have enough tools in the tool changer, and I actually just swapped over from another job. So I just bored the hole. We 3D contour all of these radii with a ball end mill. So you can see I'm running a very fine step down to get it as smooth as possible. This part is perfectly good right off the machine. So let's hide toolpaths so you can kind of see the part here. So no finishing needed after the machining on this item. Then we're going to go in and trace. Tracing is one of the methods I like to use for fine engraving. So I just literally selected the lines. So for instance, this chain at the top surface, and when I dial in this engraving tool, I set it to the top surface. So you'll notice here, I'm at the top surface, and I do a stock to leave. I said -3 thou, just so I knew it was going to be in there, and then I could wear comp the tool in lengthwise to go deeper if I wanted. I was worried about some bleed out in some of these features. So it looks a little goofy here in the software, but like the semicolon, I was worried about it bleeding out and not looking good, but I think we got it really nice. And then I'd used a pocket. I used a pocket operation for the tool here. So as you can see there, I actually noticed I probably should have reduced my ramp clearance height. So here, if you guys look, in this ramp, helix in, degree of ramp, and then there's this clearance height. So now that I see this 10 thousandths above this surface, I notice I'm way high. So I would bet that in my heights tab, I'm starting high. So I should have reduced this a little bit. Not the end of the world. So then we'll hide that adaptive again. So that's op 1. One thing to note in your setup of the part, so go to edit, go to your post-process tab. 1 in my machine is G54. 0 would also be G54, but since I run op 1 and op 2 together, you're going to want to leave it as 1 for op 1, 2 would be your G55 for your op 2, etc., and move on. If I'm only running one part, you can use a pattern and set this as 0, or you can probe each piece, etc., and then just change your work coordinates again. Op 2, you're going to notice is just a flip. So pretty much all the exact same parameters. We're going to go in, we're going to remove the carrier. And if you notice, there's a little lip here. Not worried about that. I'm worried about when the big chunks are off here. Sometimes those will get caught up in the face mill and leave some ugliness. We go in and face again, still 90 degrees, running that pocket operation as well here. And then again, you'll notice the contour still with that finishing overlap and a 45-degree lead-in. And then we're going to go ahead, ball end mill or 3D surface everything. Again, I think I'm running like a 5 thou step down just to make sure it's super fine, looks good. And then we're going to go in and engrave. So if you notice here, this ramp, which was this tight little red spiral, way too high. When we go in, we can see what might be the cause of that. I'm going to assume it's a heights tab or a ramp clearance. So, yep, it says I'm starting at the stock top. I could really go here. And then if we go to our ramp clearance, we've got 100 thousandths. It'll start above that still. I usually change this to about 10 thousandths. So now if we let it do its thing, it's going to bring that helical ramp in way down. Yeah, so you can see it starting here. It's going to save a ton of time instead of ramping the other way. So if I undo that, so I saved 30 minutes in that because this tool, I found out it has to run low speeds because it's a small tapered ball. So 43 minutes down to almost 14 by changing that. So that changes the time drastically. But so that's op 1, op 2. If you notice here in my setup in op 2, this should really be a 2. Yes. So then this would be G54, op 2 is G55. So when you post, just select both operations, right click, post process. It's going to default to the first one. So I just do this. That's just how my brain works. And then if you go to this operations tab, this button here is reorder tools. So you can, if you had your programming kind of depends on how it reorders as well. But you'll notice that we're going G54 rough, G55 rough. So we don't have an extra tool change. And we just kind of bounce back and forth between the items to keep the same tool in there as often as possible. That's how I programmed this part.
So the pry bar turned out pretty good. Engraving's nice and crisp. I like the finish on the brass. If you watched the whole video, please let me know what you would have changed in your programming or what you didn't know you could do or what you actually learned from this. Drop a comment below. I'd like to read those and see if I could actually gain any more experience or help anybody else out. If you're not using Fusion and you want to give it a try, we're gonna have a link below for a free 30-day trial. So it's all subscription-based, download it online, get a free 30-day trial, and let me know what you guys like. If you have any questions in Fusion, reach out, drop a comment below. I'll try and help. And get you guys squared away if there's any questions I can help with. As always, like, subscribe, and comment.